we filled the shop. It's started everything from the layout to marketing to strategies. Everything was in place, and it was doing really, really well. We tried to get him to sit down. It didn't happen. And then out of night, I started thinking, okay, obviously it's a problem now. And when we forced him to sit down, he came to the table and he said, yeah, no, it's not happening. And I want you guys out.
Welcome to another episode of the I Love Monday podcast. Today we are in Bolton for a very special guest, Fatimah Lorgat, who is the founder of House of Mika Couture. Welcome to the show.
Oh, Jazakallah for having us.
I wanted to speak to Fatimah because she has a real story of grafting, where she started her business with a 5-year-old son, and I believe your business is named after him.
That's correct, yeah.
And she's done really well, where people all over the UK and possibly around the world order from her.
Yep.
So can you tell us just a bit about House of Mika?
Yeah, sure. So we're very much like you said. I have 2 boys. The eldest is called Mikael, Mika for short. So we named the business after him. On a side note, he's not into business. Whereas my youngest, Muhammad Umar, is very much into business. It's probably the wrong choice in terms of naming a child, the business after a child. We started a number of years ago, and now, alhamdulillah, we started in the house, and now we're a multi-award-winning fashion brand, alhamdulillah.
Yes, you've actually won last 3 years.
Yeah,
of
that's
the
correct.
Asian Wedding
Yeah,
Awards.
Fashion Boutique of the Year, alhamdulillah, 3 times in a row. And we had it was very stiff competition. We were up against these names that have been in the business for a very, very long time. So alhamdulillah, very, very happy to have been nominated, and obviously we've won, mashallah.
Okay, so tell us a bit about Fatimah Lorgat, where her journey began.
Fatimah Lorgat was, as a child, very different to the person that sat in front of you. I was very timid. I was very, very shy. I couldn't hold a conversation. To maintain eye contact, that was something that I just could not do. And I had an older cousin, so not too much old enough for him to be sort of the authoritarian figure, but not too old that he was just that. He was also my best friend. And we had an amazing childhood because of him, but because he was a lot older, he made a lot of the decisions for me. So I was very much the bystander in my life. I just went along with him. And we got into a lot of adventure, a lot of mischief. But because I was a shy child, I never got into trouble. It was always him. He took the focus off everything. He took the pressure of everything. So I had an amazing childhood, but I didn't really do a lot, didn't really say a lot. And then at the age of 11, I was shipped off to boarding school. So it's an Islamic girls' school, and the teachers there are also cousins and aunts. So a few people then decided that, okay, the teacher's pet, and therefore I got bullied. So going from not being able to speak, not being able to defend myself, to then thrown into this environment where I had nobody but myself. I could have gone to the teachers, but I decided not to. So I was really by myself, and that's what I think I developed, and I became the person that I am today. So I had to defend myself. I learned to talk, and I was a lot more adventurous, and I think I became my own a lot more at boarding school. And I think that's probably where I learned a lot of graft there. When you're 11, and you go to boarding school, and you don't really have rules, or the rules are there, but they're very easy to bend. There were lots of things that I realised that I could get away with, and so I think I developed myself there more than anything else.
What kind of things were you getting away with?
Everything. My 16-year-old is going to watch this, so I'm not going to get too much into it. But you don't have parents there. You can do whatever you want to. You go to sleep when you want. You eat what you want. You're with, I think it was about 300 girls. And a lot of them went there because they were very naughty, and so it was the perfect environment for an 11-year-old to just discover. But one of the things that I will say is, we had a curfew for about 9. We were never in bed for 9. We were always outside. There were a lot of parties and a lot of musty, if you will. So yeah. It was a good life. And then I left a number of years later, and in boarding school. Islamic education is something that's quite high. Something Islamic education is the main focus, and so even though we had sort of secular education, it wasn't really a focal point. So I was a year behind. So when I left boarding school, I went into secondary school, and so instead of going into year 10, I was actually in year 9. And then it was very different. It was the first time that I was out, and we had rules that we had to follow. It was a lifestyle that I was living where I was with my parents, and we had to be home at a certain time. We had to, follow rules, and we were accountability and so forth. So I went to an Islamic girls' school, and again, I think I became a lot more confident with more structure. And then, that was a few. I was there for a few years.
And then what did you study at college?
At college, I studied economics, government lit and Nang, English lit and Nang government, and I studied psychology.
So when you started college, what was your vision for the future?
So I didn't have an exact vision, but I knew that I wanted to do something. I knew I wanted to be someone. I didn't know what. I knew education really wasn't for me. However, when I was growing up, when I was younger, education was the path of success. Everybody around me was going to college, uni, doctors, and so forth. And that was the only thing that I knew. But I knew that wasn't for me. So I was trying to find what worked for me. I wanted to become my own person. I just didn't know what. So when I went into college, it was maybe I can try this. Maybe it's the subjects that I'm not comfortable with. Maybe this is where I'll find my success. But like I said, education wasn't for me.
So what were you doing to try and find out what was for you?
I think my growing up, when I wake up every morning, I don't know what today's going to bring. However, I'm going to make the most of it. And I say this to my boys, you don't know what, it could be just I'm going to go into the office, or I'm going to wake up today and I'm doing something, a mundane task. However, I'm going to try and give it my 150%. I'm going to go into that and try my best. And that's every single day, that's what I would wake up and do. So when I went to college, I knew that education wasn't something that I was into. However, this is what life had given me. This is where I was at in my life at the moment, and I was going to wake up and try. I tried. Like I said, it didn't work.
And then at 19, your life changed?
Yeah, it did, yeah. At 19, I got married. My husband is from India, so we went to India. And I got married to my husband, Altaf, who I also run the business with. And again, it was very, very different. My mum, she really liked Altaf. She really liked the family, and she introduced the topic to me. And she thought that it would be a really good match, etc. And again, arranged marriages is something that was very common when I was younger. And so Altaf and I got married. I was a little baby at the time. I think at 19, because I knew very little. I was at home, I was living with my parents, but I was so focused on trying to become something that I wasn't doing anything at home. I would wake up in the morning, Mum would get everything ready. So food was ready, the household was ready, everything was done. So as a 19-year-old, I knew nothing about nothing. And to get married at that age, for me, it was my life changed completely. And then to get married to somebody in India, I think that marriage is hard anyway. But when you get married to somebody whose culture is so different, there's that language barrier somewhat, everything is very, very different. And so at the age of 19, when I took that jump, my life definitely changed. But alhamdulillah, for the better.
How did you feel as a 19-year-old, like getting married? You didn't have to run a household, different culture. What kind of emotions were you going through?
So even though I wake up every day and I give everything my all, I'm a very big believer that whatever is meant to happen will happen. The only thing that I can do is try. And I trust my parents. My mum, when she came to me and she said, okay, I think he'd be really good for you. I trusted the process. And I think it's really weird to say that now, because now that my siblings have got married, nobody's got married from India. My brother and sister both got married from here. And the conversations that they have and the questions that they ask and the list that they have is so different to my mindset. My mindset was, my parents brought somebody to me. We had a conversation. My parents did all the back work, and they found out all about him and his family. And they introduced him to me. We had conversations. And then the rest, I did istikhara and I trusted the process.
Are you the eldest of the siblings?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so you had to set that example as well.
Yes, so that's a lot of pressure. So I think, again, that's another thing. When I make a decision, or when I was younger, when I used to make a decision, it wasn't a case of, okay, I'm the eldest and I need to. But most certainly in the back of my mind, it is always that. It is I am the eldest. Whatever I do, my siblings will follow. So yeah, it was, my siblings entertained the idea for sure, because it's something that I did. But yeah, I definitely set the standards.
And then were you working in retail after that?
I was working a number of jobs after that, and also before that. So again, one of the other things was, because I didn't know what I wanted to do, I tried everything. So whilst I was studying, I was also working. I was working in retail. Prior to that, I was working in a call center. And so whilst I was working, it was a sales job. So whilst I was doing that, I was also working retail, and I was also studying at the time. So lots of different things. But again, I was trying to find my feet. I was trying to find that area that I will excel in. So yes, absolutely everything.
How did you manage to do everything? Was it a simple mindset thing where I'm just going to give 150%?
I think so. I think so. I think planning also really helps. I am a very meticulous planner. So back in the day, I had a grey board in my kitchen. And so it has days, times, and every single hour that was accounted for, and everything from cooking to cleaning to spending time with the boys. I'm a very big believer that you need to have that one-to-one with each child, but also as a family as well. So trying to fit all of that in, along with work, everything. So yeah, I think planning really, really helps. But then when you have that kind of mindset where you're going to give it your everything, if something doesn't go according to plan, that's okay. That is okay. We learn from it. If I did something and it didn't go according to plan, okay, why not? Was it just on this day things happened that I had no control over, or was it because I did something? Was I the result of it not going according to plan? And if it was something that I had control of, I'd change it. And if it's something that I can't, it's okay. It happened. It was meant to happen.
I'm a big believer of just try it.
Yeah,
so if something comes your way or there's an opportunity, just try it. If
100%.
It doesn't work out, then what's the worst that can happen?
100%. And that's a very scary mindset, especially when you have children. But I think that's what's really, really worked for me. It's really worked for me. Not always. There was one instance where we went into partnership with somebody else. And Altaf and I have always said we're a partner together. We don't really need a third. However, against our better judgment, we went into partnership with somebody else. And he took everything that we had. So Altaf and I don't come from money. We don't come from a family of businessmen and women. We come from very, very humble beginnings. And everything that we had, we worked really, really hard for. So there was money that I put as an investment. Altaf had money put to aside, and all that money was for my son, for his future. And so we put all of this into a business. It was meant to be a partnership. We put all this money into a business, and we took out a lot of debt, a lot of loan, and it was a really big property. So at the time we were in the house. So the next step was a property, an actual retail presence, and so everything that we had, we put into this property. We didn't sign any paperwork or anything like that. We went word of mouth. We trusted this man, and once we got the business up and running, it was established. It was doing well. He kind of took everything that we had and he showed us the door. And so yeah, it 100%. I think that mindset really, really helps. But then we learned from that it's not always the case. You need to do your due diligence. You do need to be mindful. You can't just trust people. Everything has to be signed, and there is a process that you need to follow.
We're going to touch on that shortly.
Okay.
So you were 21 years old when Mika was born.
Yes. Yeah.
So then you're very young, especially I can't imagine a 21-year-old in this day and age married, let alone with a child.
Yeah.
And then when did you set up the business? Because it's a big jump from having a child to saying, right, let's set up a business, because business is 24/7, a child is 24/7.
100%, yeah. And then you forget everything else, a wife, a mother, the first child. So it wasn't a case of I'm going to give this priority. I've taken all of this on, and I want to grow. But I think the biggest thing is I didn't feel like I was a 19-year-old. I didn't look at the standards that the world's put on us, and I didn't look at any of that. I knew that I wanted to be something. I wasn't looking at my age, and I didn't think, oh no, I'm too young. I didn't have the experience. The whole world was telling us not to do it. When we first started the Asian clothing business, I knew nothing about Asian clothes. I couldn't tell you the first time that I wore an Asian outfit. Altaf, again, he knows nothing about Asian clothes. We went studying business, so we weren't really set to run a business. However, like I said, I knew I wanted to do something. And when I went to India with Mika at the time to meet his grandparents, I looked around, I saw the prices, I saw the products, and I thought, this is perfect. I think I can take this back home and sell these products at a really good sort of markup. And that's when we tried.
Was that the first business you set up?
Our first business, yeah.
What was the reception you got from your family? Because you must have been, 26 at the time?
Yeah, I was 26. I was 25 at the time, yeah.
So you're 25?
Yeah.
You're running a household, you've got a husband and a child.
Yeah.
In that, especially 10 years ago, having a female starting a business with all that responsibility is not just unheard of, but it can be looked down upon.
Yeah, 100%. So two things with that. Again, it's not what other people say. It's not what other people are going to speak. People are going to have something to say. Whether I'm doing something good, people are going to say something negative. Whether I'm doing something bad, people are going to say something negative. That doesn't bother me. People are going to speak regardless. Like I said, I knew that I wanted to do something for myself and for my boys. And so with that mindset, we started. However, it was hard. It was really, really hard. I didn't have the money to start a business. I didn't have the money to start a shop. And I feel as though that would have been a lot easier than doing it in the house. Doing it in the when you have, like I said, when you have a son, and I'm a full-time mom and I'm a full-time wife, it is really, really hard. When we first started, it was trial and error. We started with £500 worth of stock. It's very, very minimal. And my house was tiny, but that's what I had. So I looked at what I had, and I thought, okay, how can I trial this now? How can I make this into a business? So we had 2 rooms. We had a kitchen, a tiny kitchen. So you have two units on the side and a little walk-in space. So Altaf and I couldn't actually walk in the property, in the kitchen together. That's how small it is. We had a sitting room. We had sofas, and then you've got the rails, etc. So that was it. I had one room to showcase to everybody what we had. And so I thought, okay, how do I maximize this now? I've got a room. I can only fit 2 to 3 customers at one time. How do I maximize it? So we diarised a plan, an appointment system. I knew in a day I've got 12 slots. We broke it down into half-an-hour slots. I've got 12 slots. I can fill those 12 slots and bring customers in together and really maximise that kind of the time frame. So we had customers that came in within the appointment system, but again, even that was hard because when I had an appointment, a lot of people, if their appointment was at 12, they would come in at 12:30. We're going into the next appointment slot now.
Asian timing.
Yeah, pretty much. And if I was to explain to them that they're late and I'm not able to see them, all hell would break loose. And so when I was in the house, I found that people weren't very understanding. It was, they didn't realise my vision. It was a brand that I'm trying to build. I don't just want it to be where I'm just selling clothes. There was somewhere that I wanted to take the business. And a lot of people didn't understand this. So I had so many people at the very beginning giving me so much grief because I wasn't allowing them to just walk on in. And when I tell you that I'm a meticulous planner, I kid you not. If I've got a slot booked out for customers, before that and after that, it's family time. So it's time to cook, it's time to clean, it's time to see, to the boys. It's that one-to-one family time. It's time for me and so forth. So if they're not sticking to that time slot, then they're disrupting my whole day. But yeah, it didn't go very well.
How are you advertising? Because I don't think there was.
No, there wasn't
Instagram,
social media. No, there wasn't.
Facebook.
We were relying on word of mouth.
Okay.
But again, that was a problem because people are coming in and a lot of them are coming in just thinking it's just a house, I can come in whenever. And we're not letting them in, or we're giving them a half an hour slot. they're not very happy about it. So they're going back and saying, oh, she's not letting us in, I'm never going to go to her again, and so forth. But we persevered. With every single problem, there's a solution. So then instead of half an hour, we started giving people an hour slot. And then that soon filled, alhamdulillah. And we got to a point where I thought, okay, well, now we've got the slots, but I can still only see 2 to 3 people at once. What can I do now? So we opened up a slot evening, so Monday and Friday, we would have an open house session. Anybody can come in. I think it was 2 to 3 hours. You don't need an appointment. You can just come on in. And we incentivized people to come in earlier. So we knew that we had a full house and people were coming in from the very beginning to the very end. And it was a tiny room, like I've mentioned. We had sofas on one side, we had the rail in the other, and it was really only space for people if they were sat on the floor. So we had women piled on top of one another, just so that we can maximise that and people could see. And we had like a promotion within that time. So I really wanted to make sure that slot was filled and we were maximising time and making sure we're getting enough profit. So that really worked. So with every problem, there is a solution.
Were you working as well?
Yeah, I was working as well. I was working in the evening, and that's why we could only do the Monday and Friday. So I was working in the evening. I was also working during the daytime, but it was a 0-hour contract, so it was just whenever. And then, of course, I was also studying at the time as well.
I know you're a meticulous planner, but I'm still trying to figure out how you fit everything in. How did you sleep?
I don't remember. I'm sure we did. I don't remember doing a lot of it. But that's the thing, when you run your business, I think a lot of people, especially on social, see the plus side of it. They see the positives and all of that. They don't realise how much you actually put into it, how little you sleep, how the business takes over your whole life. Yeah. So yeah, sleeping probably wasn't a priority.
You said you wanted to take your brand somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, where did you want to take your brand?
At that time, I would have been happy with people, local people knowing about House of Mika Couture. That was it. That was the aim then. It wasn't world domination. Now it's world domination.
And when you were in the house, how long were you in the house for?
I was in the house for 5 years.
And you were selling from the house?
Yes. So we started selling from the house. To go back to your early question about how people were receptive, we didn't have that many customers who came to us. Where we were living, there were so many other people around the area that were running a clothing business, and so many people had been doing it for so many years, so they had that name, they had that reputation. So to try to break into that market was very, very hard. I didn't have a large network of friends. Again, I was very young, went straight in from college, got married, and then I was trying to live that kind of life. So I didn't really know a lot of people. I didn't have the network. So I think I was at a disadvantage. So I had 2 options. I could have just left it, or we looked for a solution. And the solution was, let us go to customers. Don't wait for them. And so then we started doing house parties. So out of Bolton, we would go to people's houses. So we had a van, take all of our stock, go to people's houses, and we would sell in their house. And again, when you're traveling far, and we're making very little, we were purchasing these items from other people. So our profit margin was so little. We need to make it worthwhile. So we're traveling all of this way. We want to make sure that a number of people are coming. We want to make sure that when we're there for those few hours, we're making those sales. And so very quickly, I realized that if I incentivize the hostess, not only is she the best person to sell to the customers, because obviously she knows her friends that she's inviting, she's also able to help me. So I know what to pack, what to bring. It helps me with my further purchases and so forth. And then when people from each, we would go to these houses, and we would sell our products, or she would sell our products, and we would give her commission. And when people from that party found out about it, they would then want to hold their own house parties. So instead of relying on customers to come to us, we started going to them. And then when we got to a point where we realised when we had enough house parties within each area, again, it's, okay, I have my time, it needs to equate to money, it needs to equate to profit. How can I then best maximise my time? So we started doing pop-up shops. So we would go to a local area. If I had about 10 to 12 house parties in that area, we would then hold a pop-up shop. So it would just be us. Lots of people would come. We already had that network. We would already advertise. We'd already had their contact details. So yeah, that's how house parties started and pop-up shops.
How far would you travel?
Everywhere. So London, we were regular. Cornwall. Cornwall
That's
was
what,
probably
8-9 hours?
yeah, it's the furthest. Mika was very very young at the time, but the one that stands out to me the most was when my Muhammad Umar, my youngest, was born. We had booked somewhere near Cornwall, so St Ives, a number of months prior. So I think it was an Eid event that we'd already booked, and this was before I had Muhammad Umar. So we'd already sort of said, yeah, we're going to come in, and Muhammad Umar was born, so he was only 3 weeks old, and I didn't want to back out. We'd said yes to them, we'd already organised everything, and I had the choice then, what do I do? So we took Muhammad Umar along with us, and he came to his first ever event. We had the automatic swing, and he sat in there, and he was with it. He was with us. He was part of it, and he was 3. So we did the
3 weeks.
He was 3 weeks old, yeah, 3 weeks old, and we did that journey with him. So yeah.
Do you think that's one of the reasons he's a bit more entrepreneurial, because you already had a running business when he was born, whereas Mika, you didn't have the running business then?
If I'm perfectly honest with you, I think it's because when Mika was born, I was very young. And like I've mentioned to you, we came from very little. When my parents came to the country, my parents' mindset was survival mode. Let's put food on the table. That was it. And so we didn't have things that I would class as a luxury. I'm a massive Costa coffee drinker, and I class that as a luxury. Even in this day and age, I think that's a luxury. So when I grew up, I didn't have anything. So as I started becoming older and I started making my own money, I was experiencing life with my son. So he was living an amazing lifestyle, and everything was a first for me. I think he was born into that. So he never experienced hardship. He never experienced longing. He came into this life, and I think he had everything that he could ever want and more. And because I was in the house and I had everything planned, we did a lot of one-to-one with him. So I think he lived a very comfortable life. Whereas with Muhammad Umar, I had a shop at the time. When you go into the shop, you're supposed to leave at 6, for example. You're supposed to leave at 7 in the evening. Never works that way. It's 9, 10 before I get home. I'm constantly there. We're constantly at the boutique. So I don't get to do a lot of one-to-one with Muhammad Umar. So Muhammad Umar doesn't have a life that Mika did. Still an amazing life, but probably not as luxurious as Mika does. And so I think Muhammad Umar, when we saw Mika growing up, one of the biggest thing was, yes, I want to give him everything that I never had. However, I don't want to raise a spoiled child. I don't want him to be entitled. And alhamdulillah, he's not, but I could see that it could go that way. So we started putting steps into place for Muhammad Umar, where it's not just Mum, can I have this? Yeah, no problem. Now he works for it. And I think because he's always worked for things, I think that's why he's a lot more entrepreneurial. I think he sees the benefit of working, whereas Mika's always been, oh, let's go here. And I was very much like, yeah, I want to go here. Let's do it.
How old is your youngest?
8 and 16.
So the 8-year-old works for it?
Yeah, 100%.
How?
100%. In every way. So I've established a really good relationship with him where I know exactly what works for him, what motivates him. And he like most children, he loves praise, but if he does something, he's very much, I think he has my mindset where he wants to give everything 110%. So he'll come into the boutique. We restrict technology, so he's only allowed to go on the phone for a very short period of time. So he works for that. So if he'll come into the boutique, our team know that Muhammad Umar is here, so we'll all find a little something for him to do. So it might be a case of bringing tags down or organising files or paperwork and so forth. But we'll all have a task for him to do, and each time he does a task, we'll give him something. So technology, he goes onto technology for a short period of time, and if he's done something, we give it to him a little bit longer. He gets paid at the end of every shift, so it's only very little, but he gets paid for it, and we've split his money into 3 shares. So we want to encourage him to start saving. So for every time he saves, we match that. So if he saves £2, we'll match it with £2. So, yeah.
It's like our own little pension product.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, absolutely.
So you were running your business from your house for 5 years with your husband. How did you delegate the duties or split the duties between you and your husband? What was the synergy like?
I think a lot of people concentrate on that kind of balance, and if you do this, I have to do this. But we were living such a hectic lifestyle that it was never, these are your duties and these are mine. Because I was so young, none of us really knew anything about business. I didn't know what my strengths were. I didn't know what my weaknesses were. It was a case of, okay, this is what we're going to do this morning. Everything was written. We had a structure in place, but it was never a case of this is what we were going to do. We worked really well as a team, alhamdulillah, and it was, I'll do this, and if I needed support, he'd jump in. If he needed support, we'd jump in, sort of thing. As we did this, over time, I realised what my strengths were, and of course my weaknesses. And Altaf realises what his strengths are and what his weaknesses are. And now we have a system, and now tasks are delegated. But at the very beginning, it was just, we want this to be a success, and we would just muck in and get on with it.
Was it literally like, okay, these are the 50 things that need to be done today. You're going to do this, I'm going to do this. And then if anything needs cover, because when you're running a business, you can plan for everything, and then you get one phone call, which takes half an hour, supplier issues or whatever kind of issues you have, and then everything goes out the window.
Now it's very much like that. Now it's a very, very, very clear cut. It's very distinguished. Altaf has his strengths, and that's his area, and that's what he deals with, and I don't get involved unless I need to. Then it wasn't like that at all. It was, okay, from between 9 to 3, we have customers. We used to have a 2-hour break, 3 to 5, when Mika would come in from school. So it was his time, cooking, cleaning, and so forth. 5 to 7, 7 to 9, again, it was Mika's time, and then 9 to 12, again, customers. So within that time, it was, these are all the things that need to be done. We just got on with it. And again, it was, I think, we're all old enough to know, okay, this is priority. I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this. But we did everything together. And I think, alhamdulillah, that's why our partnership works really, really well. When we had an appointment system, I would do all the showing, I would do the sales side, and naturally Altaf would then start putting things away, packing, clearing away, bringing things downstairs, stock management, those kind of things. So just naturally, I would sort of concentrate on the front end of the business, and he would concentrate on the back end of the business.
Is it still like that today?
Now there's a lot more that's involved. So he deals with India. That's where we get our products from. That's where we have our hub. So he deals with that, and then the math side. Thank God I learned very, very quickly that I'm not very good when it comes to numbers. So that's his strength. So he deals with that, and I deal with everything in the UK.
Okay, and then when you decided to expand your business, is that when you had your trouble with the third investor?
No, it was well before then. We weren't actually looking for an investor. We definitely weren't looking to get into a partnership. But I'm very, very big in everything happens for a reason, and my Rosie is written. And my love language anyway is giving. Giving brings me so much joy, and so we do a lot of charity work. So we were introduced to this gentleman as a wholesaler. So we started wholesaling to him, and I was a religious leader. And he contacted us saying he's opened this shop, a really, really big shop in like a really prime location in Oldham. He's opened this shop to fund a madrasa. But he knows nothing about clothes, he knows nothing about anything, and he wanted us to come on board so that we can run it, and a percentage of that, the profits, would go towards this establishment. And that's perfect for us. That's who we are. That was the perfect setup. And so even though we weren't looking for an investor or we weren't looking for a partnership, we decided that if we were going to do it, this would be the right time to do it. This would be the right reason to do it. So we started for that reason. And he was so the story that he told us was that he was having loads of problems with this establishment, and he had to take a step back from the business, and he had to concentrate on that, otherwise he could lose it. And therefore we couldn't really sit him down to sign any paperwork or anything like that. And we were young, we were naive, very gullible, and we thought, okay, we're doing it for a good cause, no problem at all. When you're ready, let's sit down, let's sign paperwork. And within that time, again, like everything, we woke up in the morning, this is our big break, this is what we were looking for. If we were giving 100% before, we were giving 200% to this. And it was a massive, massive boutique, it was a massive shop. So trying to fill that, we most definitely didn't have the resources then. Everything that we did have, we'd already put into there. And so to fill the shop, we were taking out a lot of loan, a lot of credit. We filled the shop. It started everything from the layout to marketing to strategies. Everything was in place, and it was doing really, really well. We tried to get him to sit down, it didn't happen. And then out of night, I started thinking, okay, obviously it's a problem now. And when we forced him to sit down, he came to the table and he said, yeah, no, it's not happening. And I want you guys out. So we literally, within that day, we had the meeting. Within that day, we couldn't even go in to collect our belongings. When we went back in, he had people there, and they threatened to use violence and so forth. So yeah, at that point, we left everything that we had, and we left.
So did you have all your stock inside as well?
Everything. We had everything. Our stock was nothing. It was a house. We had a house. It was nothing. Even though when we were in the house, that was our everything. We had to overexert ourselves to fill this shop. And we had to create lines that we weren't even considering, collections that we were just maybe thinking about. We had to bring that in. So everything that we were thinking about that it would have taken us 2-3 years, we had to fast track that, and we did that into this shop.
So after all of this went down, obviously you're feeling gutted and
devastated.
a lot of negative feelings. How did you come back up?
So 2 things. One, my mum is very, very religious, and one of the things that she's always told us is have faith. And I think that was probably the lowest that I've ever felt in anything. That was probably the lowest point of my life. And we had people who came to us that were saying, oh, you can get your money back this way and so forth. And we didn't want to do anything. We went into this for the right reasons. When we tried to reach out to him and speak to him, he just wasn't having any of it. So we thought we have 2 options now. We can either use the rest of our energies to try to get that back. It didn't look like it was going to happen. Or now we can try to move forward. And we had that faith that everything was going to work out. I think that really helped us. And then the second thing, so mentally, our mind frame. I think when you're in that mind frame where you feel as though you're going to give it everything else and you leave the rest to Allah, when you go through such a big loss, I think it makes it a lot more bearable. And then the second thing, and I think this is a beautiful thing, we had the people that we owed a lot of money to in India. We had a very new relationship. We knew that obviously we were going to pay them back, regardless of if it meant I had to work another 10 years to pay them back. We were going to pay them back. So we contacted them all and we said, look, we're not going to be able to meet the deadlines that you've put into place. This is what has happened. However, know that we will work the rest of our life to pay you back. And they said things that we will never ever forget. That the gentleman that we've never even met, he said to us, okay, no problem. What are you doing now with clothes? What's your plan? So I said, I don't know. We just want to get out of this. I don't really know whether we want to continue. We were devastated. Everything that we thought we wanted was in that shop, and it was closed to us now. And we didn't have a particularly great response. We were doing really, really well in terms of business, but we weren't making the monies because we were purchasing not off wholesale. It was retailer. Bringing it over, the shipping cost and everything was really, really high. We were selling in the house. So yes, we looked like we were doing really well, but finance was saying that, actually, it's not, it wasn't, we weren't doing very well. So we said, we're not even really thinking about that kind of aspect of it. We're thinking about maybe giving up. He said, don't give up. Don't worry about this finance. Give it to me whenever. If it takes you 10 years to give it to me in 10 years. Don't worry about that. But don't lose hope and don't stop your business. And he said, okay, what do you need now to continue? I said, restock. He said, come to me, I'll give it to you. He gave us this support and this backing. And so we continued and we restarted our business off the back of his words.
If you're comfortable with sharing, how much money did you lose?
A lot, everything.
5 figures, 6 figures?
No, 5 figures. As a 26-year-old,
that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And like I said, I don't come from money. Altaf don't come from money. Altaf to come into the country he had to get, he was in debt, etc. So that's a lot of money. And that is money that I thought would be my son's future. Yeah. So it was a big deal to lose everything. And I think not just finance, that's a knock of confidence.
Yeah.
That's you guys aren't good enough, that it was everything that we ever held sacred. It was taken away from us.
How long were you actually thinking of giving up? Was it and when did you decide, okay, right, we're not giving up? Was it like a week, 2 weeks, or was it a bit less than that?
No, I think anything that goes wrong in life, for myself, the way that I look at it is, I'll give myself a day. I'll go out for a coffee. I'll have conversations with myself. And then it's okay, it's a new day now. I've sulked, I've cried, I've done everything that I've prayed, I've done everything. Now it's a new day. So usually I give myself a day. I think at that point we gave ourselves a little bit longer. I think within him saying no to us having conversations and then having a conversation with our wholesaler in India, I think it was a week. So within a week, he came to us and said, no, don't give up.
And that gave you the confidence to continue.
He did. I've never met him before. I'd never met him. These were new lines that we were introducing. He had no reason to do this. He could have quite easily have said, okay, well, these are your penalties, pay it. And he didn't. He said, forget that. And he supported us. And that was an amazing thing. And when we speak to him now, he tells us that I knew that you guys were going to do well. So yeah, that support came from somebody that we would never have expected.
When did you get your shop? Or was the shop you have now the first shop you had?
Yes, it's our first shop. Yeah, it's our first shop.
What was your process and thinking behind that? It's a big step, especially after what you've gone through.
It is a very big step. And Altaf is the numbers guy. And like I said, the world looked at us and think, oh my God, these guys are doing really well. And as far as appointments were going, as far as customers were going, we were doing really well. However, we were still purchasing off a retailer. So when you purchase off a retailer, you ship it over to the country, you're doing all of that. It doesn't make sense, and you're selling it so low. When we were looking at strategies, we listened to a Bayan, and I feel as though it was Mufti. I'm going to say it was Mufti Menk. And one of the big things that he said was when you're looking at price points, when you do it where it's accessible to everybody, Allah puts barakah in it for you. And like I told you, I'm a big believer that everything happens for a reason. My Rosie is written. If I'm going to do something and I'm going to get reward from it, I'm going to do something and inshallah I'm going to please Allah. That's what I want to do. And so when we were looking at price points, and that is why we are so accessible even today, because I want it to be where I'm not just making money, I want barakah in it. But when we were doing that in the shop, it didn't make any sense. In the house, it didn't make any sense. I was selling at such a small profit margin that when you're taking my wage out and Altaf's wage out, and then on top of that you've got all the expense, etc., we were left sometimes with nothing. So it didn't really make a lot of sense. But like I said, yeah, that's how we started, and we wanted to sort of continue, and we started with the shop. Because Altaf's very much the number guy. So our profits and everything we're saying that you can't really afford to. But I had the vision. I knew that if we continue, we learn, we grow, we'll be able to. So we looked at a number of shops and we realised that what we were looking for in terms of our budget, it was far too small. We can't really get anything that would be where we want to go for the next sort of 5 to 6 years. We want something bigger, but the budget wouldn't allow it. So Altaf and I had long conversations, and being married to a person who makes the decisions about the numbers, I think really helps. And I think at the end of it, it was just a case of, it didn't really make sense financially, but I knew where I wanted to go, and I had full faith that we were going to get there. And so Altaf and I made that decision, I think more based on instinct than anything else.
But I think business is a lot like that. Sometimes you're not going to make sense financially straight away, but where you see yourself in 5 years, then it all makes sense.
Makes sense, the vision, yeah.
So at that time, was it national domination you had in your mind?
No.
Or world?
No, I had something to prove to Altaf then. It was very much like, oh my gosh, if this doesn't work, I'm married to this guy. This will be every conversation, every argument that we have. I told you not to open this shop. And so I just wanted it to be a success. And that just meant balance sheets. That was it then. And it's only when I started, and I've always had this vision, but when you're starting from, when everything feels so scary, when you don't have any experience, when you don't have any knowledge, any backing, everything feels scary at that point. So at that point, I just wanted to survive. I wanted to go 1 year where we don't go under, where 1 year where we're actually making a profit, etc. And like I said, I'm the eldest child. So my siblings were so much more younger than I was. I was married. We didn't have things growing up. So as we were making money, as we were making cash, not profit, as we were making cash, to be able to spend that on family, to be able to spend, I told you my love language is giving. So to be able to do that felt so amazing. And so I knew that I had to make that a success, not just for me and for my boys, but also for my parents and my siblings.
I walked in to your shop. I think it was about a month ago.
Yeah.
When my wife
Yeah.
told me to come in
Mm-hmm.
and to introduce myself to you.
Yeah.
As she had the personal shopping experience with you, I think, that day.
Yeah.
It was rammed, it was
Nope.
busy.
It was a quiet day for us.
But from looking at the
Yeah.
outside, I just saw every few seconds people walking in because
Yeah.
I was standing at the front
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
with your husband.
Mm-hmm.
How have you got to that stage? And for you, that's a quiet day. So how
That's
have
a
you got to
quiet
that
day,
stage?
yeah. So two things. One, I don't look at what other people are doing. I don't look at what I should be doing in a situation. I look at what's the problem, what's the solution. So that's the first thing, and we always put that into practice. So if, for example, like I've told you about, when I was speaking to you about in the house, customers weren't coming to me. Okay, what's the solution? I'm going to go to them. I'm not making enough money. What's the solution? So with everything, there's a problem. What's the solution? So by doing that, I'm able to put loads of things into practice and put loads of steps into practice that aren't conventional in an Asian clothing shop, but I knew that my business needed. So I think that's a big thing.
What kind of things?
Like an appointment system, like you just mentioned about the personal shopper. The personal shopper is a big deal because we were having, yes, you're really, really busy. So what you saw was a quiet day, but usually there's queues out the doors, that's how busy we are. So people want to wear house Mika Couture, but they want that personal service. They want that one-to-one service. Okay, so that's how we introduced the personal shopper. People pay £20. It's fully refundable when you spend £85 or more, but it means there's a problem, and now I'm giving customers a solution. And then the second thing is, it's not always going to work. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. Why did it not work? And we're learning from it. As a customer, if you were to come into the boutique, we're collating information always. It's why have you come in? Name, numbers. So obviously you've got marketing. So that is real. That's a real customer giving their real name, real number, real email address. Why did you come into the boutique? Was it because you heard from us? How did you hear from us? Instagram? Okay, perfect. We're going to spend our monies there. If it was recommend a friend, perfect. The conversation out there in the world is House Mika Couture is doing great things. We're collating that information. They've come into the boutique. What price range? So from one of the latest collections that we introduced was a budget range. And that was because a lot of people coming in, they were coming to us and saying that they're on a budget. And so we've obviously then been able to establish that, and we've made a budget range. So there's lots of information that we're collating. Customers are going to walk in anyway. How can I maximize that? How can I use that to my advantage? And that's literally with every single aspect of our business day. That's what it is. From customers to the layout. When you've walked into the shop, you would have seen that it's very different to other Asian boutiques. And there is a reason why the booth number one is where it is. There's a reason why we have signs the way that it is. Every single thing is thought out. There's a process behind it. And like I said, some processes work and some don't. And if it doesn't work, that is okay. Like I've said, why did it not work? Was it just for that customer, for that particular day? Or was it, okay, this is an error, we need to stop. If we're stopping, why are we stopping? Are we bringing it back another time of the year? All those kind of things. So those two things really work.
I think business is a lot about trial and error anyway.
Yeah.
And especially when the marketing aspect, like for example, okay, you're not getting customers through Instagram, then why is it not through Instagram?
Yeah.
Let's try something else.
Yeah.
Or is it through leafleting, the old school method? Does that work? So business is a lot about trial and error, but I think the key thing is not giving up.
Yeah.
And having that perseverance that, okay, yes, it's not worked this time, but next time we're going to tweak it, and you're going to tweak it again. Yeah. And I think as a business owner myself, there's no such thing as a perfect system.
Yes.
Because you're always looking to tweak it.
100%.
Is that how you felt as well?
100%. And I think as a woman in business, I think it's always hard anyway, and there is always that pressure. As a mum, I'm giving that time. It's taken away from somewhere. Is it taken away from the boys, my husband, my mum? I said, whatever it's taken away from, it's taken it away. I want to make sure that my time, when I use it, it's used effectively. So the pressures are always there. I'm not going to succumb to it. I'm going to use it to my advantage, and I'm going to, trial. And a lot of things that we've gone through is because we've just persevered and we've continued at it. But also, often I love what we do, and I think that really helps. I think if you love what you do, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how mundane the task or how hard it is. If you love it, you're able to do it.
Where do you get your energy from? Because my wife tells me, it goes, it's like you're on some kind of booster or something, because you're literally a superwoman from the moment you wake up because your office hours of your shop opening hours I've noticed is 1 to 6.
Yes, we get into a lot of trouble for that. People say it's too short.
Yeah, because it's not normally you have them. I think Asian shops are like 11 to 8.
Yeah.
And plus, you're not in the Asian hubs like Birmingham or Green Street or whatever.
People come very specifically for us. People travel all across the country specifically for us. And that was another thing. When we're looking for that's the thing. I think if you know your business and you know your strengths, you can use that. You know, so if I was somebody who was very new, I don't think I would have gone to somewhere like Halliwell Road in Bolton. But I knew that we already had a very established base. I knew my products were great. I know my prices cannot be beaten. And therefore, I can open up shop anywhere. At the time, it was pricing. I wanted to get something where it was big enough, but the pricing was right. So I think if you know your strengths and your weaknesses, I think it really, really works. But to go back to your question, a lot of people don't know I actually suffer from chronic fatigue syndrome. And so I have a very high threshold for pain, so I can't feel pain. I went to a doctor in London not so long ago, and he was looking at my body and so forth, and he was like, "Do you know you have you have pain in the back in your lower back, and it's almost like a slip disc. It's not there yet, but it's really." I was like, I can't feel pain, and because I can't feel pain, I have a very high threshold for pain. I can't understand when it's time to relax, when it's time not to do things. So that, coupled with the fact that I wake up every morning thinking, I am going to live my life to the fullest today. Today is the day where I am going to give it 150%. So it's a very deadly combination. But in terms of business, I think it really works. It means I can do silly hours. I can give it my everything. And I think it works. That and coffee. I need to stop plugging Costa. But yeah, I think those two things really work.
Are your main customers shopping for weddings?
An occasion, party wear. So whether that's a wedding, whether that's a like a bridal shower, or whether that's a HIV ceremony, an occasion,
So during COVID, obviously a lot of that stopped, trading stopped as well. And for a long time, weddings and occasions were a lot smaller. How did you adapt?
So two things with that. One, my husband, just before COVID, decided that actually he doesn't want to continue with the clothing business. He wants to do something completely different. And I loved the business. I said, I'm not going to give it up. I'm going to continue. So just before COVID hit, I had made all these plans about what I was going to do with the business and so forth. And he, like I said, he was going to exit. Just before that, just before he was able to sign, COVID hit. So he was then within the business, but I had taken, instead of it being sort of half and half now, I was in sort of the leading chair. So the 2 years that we were closed for COVID gave me the perfect opportunity to work on everything else that I had neglected. We were just an Asian boutique, but I wanted to use those 2 years to really work on everything that I wanted, explore new things. So I think it really worked in my favour. And then I knew that as soon as things opened, nobody knew what was going to happen, but we were going to go back to some sort of normality. And normality would look different, or may look different, but we would go back to normality. People are going to get married regardless of what happens. So I was ready. I was ready for that influx of customers who weren't able to get married in 2 years. And we were ready to the point where we had so many customers. Our count of people who came through the door went up by 3 times. Within that period, went up by 3 times, and we were ready. We'd contacted our hubs in India. We had all of our workforce. We'd continued to pay them. So even though during COVID we had to people were letting people go, we continued to pay them. And we said, as soon as we call you, come straight back. We're going to be ready. And we were in a really great opportunity. I think we were one of the very few people who had a massive workforce at their disposal. So we were able to order, we were able to offer customers new products. I think we took advantage of the situation.
What's your setup like in India now? Is it you have a team there, like a staff there?
Yeah, we have several teams. We have our own teams now, we make our own products.
So now obviously you're getting them at a lot better rate.
Yeah. So we've not increased the price point is still pretty much the same, but now where we were getting at high value and we were selling it quite cheap. Now we're getting it lower. We're still maintaining that. And like I said, now we've introduced the budget range. So our price point is even better. I think it's accessible to everybody now.
How do you manage a team so far away?
Altaf deals with India. Yeah, yeah. Altaf deals with the team, and it does really, really well. We have management in India that we trust really, wholeheartedly. Altaf usually goes every few months. We go in December, so we have a lot of. We have a really great team, and then of course every evening, every morning, we're speaking to our team abroad. We have a lot of video calls, so we're constantly liaising with them.
What's your day-to-day like now? Because you're open between 1 to 6, 5 days a week, I think.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not your working
No,
hours. Because I've seen TikTok lives at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
So what's your day-to-day like?
Our working day starts at 6 in the morning, because obviously India is a number of hours earlier. So our working day starts at 6. We'll get up. Altaf will have a meeting with the team, and then Altaf and I will have a very quick meeting. He'll very quickly tell me about what's going on in India, and then whatever else he's working on during the day, and I'll report back to him about what I've got going on. So we start off with planning. I always plan the day before. I feel as though that really, really helps. If I know what I'm doing when I get up in the morning, I can get up and just do it. I can't really sleep very well at night though, so that does change. So when I wake up in the morning, I might have had this, and this, and then it'll change ever so slightly. And so 6 we start. The boys wake up about 8ish, so 6 to 8 it's tasking, getting the chunk of the business done. 8 o'clock we'll start with the boys. 8 to 9, drop them off to school, and then we start our working day. So 9 till 12. A lot of meetings. A lot of people they don't realise that if you're trying to run a boutique, it's not just a case of, it's just agent clothes. There is a lot that's involved. I want to make sure that if there's a style that's working well, I want to make sure that I have full stock. If there's a style that I've seen a lot of people have requested, but we've not really set up for that yet, I want to make sure that we've got that kind of stock in. The right people are in the right positions to make sure that they get in the stock that's needed. The team that we have at the shop, I want to make sure that everybody knows what they're doing. Is there a way that I can improve? Is there a way that I can help all of our team members work better? All those kind of things happen between sort of 9 to 12, and then the team start coming in from about 12:30.
So your shop closes at 6?
7 right now, yeah, let's say 6.
What do you do after that?
Oh,
because it doesn't finish.
No, it doesn't. So Altaf's job is India. So Altaf will place all the orders. That's customer orders, but also shop. We want to make sure we constantly have stocks. We've identified obviously greens and reds and what sells and so forth. So we want to make sure we've constantly got enough stock, enough greens, and because of how accessible our prices are, we rely on how little our profit margin is. We only make a profit if we sell larger quantities. So another boutique will sell one, for example, and we'll make the money, and we would have to do 2 to 3 to get the same kind of profit. So for us, the numbers have to match. We need to make sure we have the stock, and we have to have it right, and we have to have the right quantity at the right time. So all of that Altaf will do. And I look at numbers. How many people came in? Is it a decline? Is it, are we on point? Why, if we had more people come in, why? Booths, what kind of booths were they looking at? All those kind of things. So I'm looking at the day-to-day running, and Altaf's looking at stock, etc. Again, the team in India, really lovely. Even though there's a massive time gap, they'll wait for us to call, we'll place orders, we'll have a meeting with them. And then once that's finished, once the boutique's finished and what the day-to-day running is finished, we're looking at tomorrow, we're looking at next week, we're looking at the weekend. So that doesn't really finish till about 8, 9. And then after that, it's whatever else we need to do at the time. So that could be boys going back home, obviously seeing to them. And then on occasion, it's extra things like TikTok and live sessions, etc.
So what do you get out of the TikTok lives?
So I'm not a social media person. I really do not like social media. I understand the value that it brings. I understand how important it is to have social media, but I don't like going in front of a camera. That's not who I am. So when when TikTok was introduced to me, when TikTok Live was introduced to me, the team were like, "You need to do it." I was like, "Oh my God, no!" But the idea, and it's worked really, really well. It is, we want people to know about House of Mika Couture. We want people to know about our products. We have so many people who come into the boutique and they travel from everywhere. However, because we're not a conventional Asian clothing brand, we work very, very different. So we want to get the name out there. We want people to know all the different things that we operate, because we do offer so many different things than other boutiques.
If you don't like getting your face out there,
No.
but on Instagram you do it quite a lot.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
When did you start getting that confidence? Say, you know what, it will work, because your Instagram is growing.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting customers through Instagram, so obviously it's making money for you.
Mm-hmm. I probably don't do it as much as I should do, and it is very much. I'm a very private person. I don't like putting things out that we do on show. I don't like that. And I grew up with very little, and I had family members who had a lot. So as a child, when you grow up and you see other people having things, naturally, you yearn for things. And I would hate for somebody to look at my social, and because social media only highlights the positive.
Yeah.
They don't highlight the struggle. It doesn't highlight the struggle. So I would hate for somebody to look at my social and think, oh my God, she lives an amazing life, and not know the rest of it, not know the full story. And that's the problem that I have with social media. So that's why I don't do it as much as I should do. However, like you said, I know how valuable it is, and it really, really works. So I do it because I'm forced to do it. But if I had it my way, I probably wouldn't do it. But for any business out there that wants to grow, social media is the thing to do.
You don't document your full days, do you? Not at all. Would you do it? Because I think that would give people a bit more of an understanding.
Yeah. So I am constantly told, the team are constantly telling me that I should do it. I don't know what the future's going to. I'm not going to say never. It could be that we start doing it, but at the moment we don't do it. And like I said, for that reason, it's a very, very, very fine line. I don't know how something is perceived. I don't ever want it to be where somebody, like I said, looks at it and feels bad because of what I've put on social media. And that's something that I don't sleep very well at night with, especially because my love language is giving. I want to give. And for something to be taken in a negative way, I don't know. That doesn't feel comfortable with me. So maybe I'll never feel comfortable with it, but I do try. My eldest is very private. So Monday, when I talk to you about being very meticulous, Monday is one of the things that I do on Monday is a food plan for the week. So Friday, when we have our family meal, the family get together, who wants what. So my son will decide on 2 things. My husband will decide on 2 things. My youngest will decide on 2 things. So come Monday, everything, shopping's done, I'm fully prepared, and I've got the Monday to make everything. And I think that really, really works for me. As a working mum who's got a very busy lifestyle, planning and working really helps. And so I started documenting that, and I felt that I got a lot of positive response from that. And I think it helps a lot of people. However, my eldest doesn't post on social either, and he came to me and said, "Mum, I don't really want you posting things that I eat and what I do on social media." So again,
Which is fair enough.
So that's something that we no longer do. So as a family, we are very private. I don't think that there's anything that people would want to see that I think would be taken in a positive way.
I think it depends. I think and obviously a lot of it's of how you put it out there.
Yeah.
But I think with the way you are and the way you've run your business with your husband, I think it would encourage a lot of other people to say, you know what, if you have a vision, just chase it.
Yeah.
But it's also about you having the time to do that.
Yes. Oh no, definitely no time. But yeah, no, it definitely can be. And I'm all for, I think we put limitations on ourselves. If I had listened to anybody, I wouldn't have started the business. When I first started the business, because I knew nothing about Asian clothing, all of my closest confidence was telling me not to start. My siblings were saying don't do it, my parents were saying don't do it, friends were saying don't do it. Had I have listened, I wouldn't have done it. So I can 100% understand the value that it would bring to see something like that. But I don't know, I'm just not comfortable yet.
Your eldest, Mika,
Yeah.
He's 16
Yeah.
now, so it's a very key phase in his life
Yes.
in terms of what's he going to do.
Yeah.
You didn't go to uni.
Yeah.
Would you encourage him to go, or would you say, because you said he's not business minded?
Yeah. He's very book smart. Very, very book smart. So that is the plan for him. That is what he wants to do. He's just finished private school. He's going into college now, and then the idea is for him to continue with education. But I don't think that there is definitely not a plan to success. There's no path to guaranteed success. It is quite literally, we all have strengths, we have weaknesses. Let's play towards your strength. And you do something, you do it with 100%, and it's halal. I think you're going to be successful. Success really is contentment, isn't it? If you have everything but you don't have contentment, what does it matter? And so as long as he's content, he's given it his 100%, he can wake up in the morning and think, you know what, I'm really happy to be doing this. That is all that I ask for.
You speak a lot about your faith and how your Rosie is written and your mum's du'as and everything. What role does your faith and your belief play in your business?
The biggest. I think every time we make a decision, it is, what does Islam say? 100%. I have full faith that if I'm supposed to get something, nobody's going to take it away from me. But at the same time, I'm never going to get more. So I know if I'm going to get something, I can get it the wrong way or the right way. Why would I choose the wrong way? And I think the other thing is that I don't listen to what other people say. If somebody's saying something negative, they're going to say it anyway. People speak. It doesn't really affect me. Why would I let somebody else's opinion change what I'm going to do? If I've done something and I've done it for the right reasons, and I know that I can go to God and I'm not going to have any negativity, that's fine. That's what I'm going to choose. But I wasn't always like that.
How do you cope with people's negative?
Doesn't affect me. Really.
From the beginning?
From the very beginning, yeah. It doesn't affect me.
But how do you make sure it doesn't affect you? Because there must be times where, like, why did the person say this? Or
They have been, even very recently, somebody said something that is 110% not true. Yeah, I can sit here and I can defend myself and I can talk about what she did was wrong and so forth. What's that going to bring? With chronic fatigue, one of the things that I've learned is I only have limited reserve of energy. Okay, so that's like money. You've got £1,000 in the bank, for example. Okay, you've got £1,000 in the bank. You can choose how to spend that. Why would you spend that on something negative? No, I'm not going to spend it on something negative. What? Somebody else to say, oh yeah, she was in the right? No, I'm going to spend that in a way that I see fit. I'm going to spend that in some way that's going to bring me comfort and it's going to help my family. Something that's going to bring us joy. That's what I'm going to spend it on. And it's the same with people. People are going to speak regardless.
I think your laser focus in your business and on your family just helps in that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this person said whatever. Because you're going to get negativity. That's just the way life is.
Yeah.
But this is my vision and this is what I'm running towards.
And
it's like you just have obstacles in the way and you just have to
navigate around it. Yeah. And I think the other thing that really helps me is Muhammad Sallallahu is the best, isn't he? And he got so much hate and negativity and and who am I? So things like that really, really help me. And my mom is very religious. And I think growing up in that kind of household really helps. Mika is very, very religious. And I think things like that help when we stay grounded. And I don't have a very large group of friends, people that I definitely speak to and people that, associates, but very, very few people that I would class as friends. So I'm very conscious of who I let into my circle. And if they don't have the same mindset as me, if they don't share the same beliefs as me, then it's nice to speak to people, but they're not people that I'm going to hold as like high regards as friends. And I think if you're selective with what kind of energy you allow into your space around your family, and that really helps as well.
I've noticed that with a lot of business owners is they have a very close friend circle, and if they have negative around them, they just distance themselves.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you need that positivity to continue going.
Yeah.
Because obviously negativity it's like it drains your battery.
It really does. I'll give you a really good example. So in our household, we don't believe in quitting. If there was a problem, there's a solution. Sometimes the solution is, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. So don't get me wrong when I say we don't believe in, we don't quit, but we don't look at something and say, okay, it's too hard, or why has this happened? There's a problem, there's a solution. And Mikhail, he's now in Alim class. Again, it's all from his own accord. But when he was really young, he learned Surah Yasin by himself. He learned the last three, the 30th bar by everything by himself. I didn't do anything I didn't help him or anything. He just wanted to learn it by himself. And naturally, even now, you come into the boutique when he's upstairs, and he's in his element. He's just praying Quran Sharif. He's at home. He's constantly praying because he's always been around that. We don't when he was younger, we didn't have a TV. The TV in the house was a CCTV, and when we had a few moments, we would listen to Quran Sharif or Nizams and things. So when you're surrounded by that, naturally, that's what you let in. So therefore, you're praying that. And like I said, my mum's very religious, so my mum would always make us pray, learn Surah Yasin. So I think it started from that, and then he just continued. So naturally, and if you talk to him about his strengths, he'll say that he can, anything to do with Islam comes to him very quickly. So naturally, that's his strength. So he started doing Hifz class. When he started Hifz class, the teachers at the time said, no, you're far too young, etc. As a parent, I knew he was ready and he wanted to do it. The teachers were saying, no, he's far too young. Come back next year. So we went back next year. And I'm not somebody who, if I feel as though something's right, I'll do it. I won't really listen to what other people have said. I'll have mashwara, we'll talk, we'll discuss. And then at the end of it, if I still feel as though, no, this is the right thing to do, this is what I'll do. The very first time I listened to somebody else about my child, it was, don't do it. So I said, okay, let's not. We didn't do it. Came back next year. Next year, they said, no, he's still far too young, come back the year after. And I was really worried that he's going to lose focus, he's going to lose interest. His other friends had already started the year before and so forth. So I said to the teacher, with all due respect, I think he's ready. If not, we'll take him elsewhere, etc. And they said, no, it's fine. You can start. So he started. And then the conversations around that was, don't do it. If you're not going to do it properly, don't do it at all. The normal advice that you get. However, this is the first time he's ever been introduced to leaving. He's ever been introduced to negativity. He's ever been introduced to, if you don't want to do something, you just leave it. And so he came home one day and he said, oh, Mum, I no longer want to do it. Why? Because the people that he'd surrounded himself with were saying that you can't do two things. You can't go to private school and become a hafiz. You just can't do it. Not you personally, but generally, if you're doing two things, you can't divide yourself. You've got to have one focus. You've got to do just that. So he actually went to listening to what other people were saying, and he decided that he no longer wanted to do it. Now, we don't push. We encourage. We have conversations and and so forth, but it's never a case of you're going to do this. When he came to me and said it, I was devastated. He didn't start for me, he started for himself. When he started, I knew that he was this is something that he's really good at, something that he's always done. And when he started talking to me about that, it became very apparent that he wanted to stop because of what other people were saying. Are you finding it hard? No. Is it something that you don't want to do? No. Has your perspective changed? No. It was literally because other people were saying to the class, if you don't want to, if you're finding it hard or whatever, you should just quit. And he took that on, and he was such a young age. He no longer left Alim class and so he had his class, and now he's becoming an Alim again of his own accord. And now when you talk to him, he says that he wished that he never stopped. He wants to continue, and after Alim class, he wants to go back to Hafiz. But that was because he listened to other people around him. So
I think a lot of it is even like conversations within your family or with yourself. It's how you word it. So if there's a problem and you say, okay, I'm going to quit or I can't do it, you're telling your brain you can't do it.
No, 100%.
But if there's a problem and you say, how can I solve it?
Yes.
You're asking your brain to think of solutions.
Yeah.
Or how can I do it? Or how can I afford it?
Yeah.
Then you're asking your brain to, and it's like a ticking thing that, okay, let's find the solution. Right? If you say, I can't do it, your brain just shuts down.
Yeah, 100%. Psychology is so, in our minds, it's so strong.
Just a few questions before we finish.
Yeah.
If you had a 16-year-old Fatimah sitting next to you today, what would you say to her?
Don't be too cocky. When I was 16, I didn't realize. When you're young and you have youth on your side, you don't realize what the world really is. You don't realize. There's a lot of things that you don't realize, and so I think we made that big mistake with the other gentleman, because I just thought, I was very naive, just thought that it'd be fine, everything would be fine, everybody's like us kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's a big deal. And secondly, just to trust the process. You will be where you need to be if you trust the process. Just allow it to happen.
And what one advice would you give to anyone who wants to go into business or follow a vision?
Do it. Do it, do it, do it. The worst that can happen is that it doesn't work. Like this, when I talk back to you about how we went into the business and it didn't work, I can talk to you about how many more amazing things that happened at the back of it. I didn't know about, so he introduced us to saris, he introduced us to a very large customer base that we knew nothing about. He introduced us to saris, a wholesaler that helped us, all along the way. There's so many great things that can happen. And so, yeah, negative will happen, maybe even a loss and whatnot. But also if you look at the positive, loads of great things can happen.
A quick fire session before we finish.
Okay.
Favorite food?
Biryani at the moment.
At the moment?
Yes.
Favorite holiday destination?
Oh, Turkey.
You're going?
Yeah, straight after this, we're going Turkey. For a very long time, however, it was, I don't like Turkey. No, not that I don't like Turkey. Turkey was the only place that we could have gone because of my husband's passport situation. Visa very, very quick. And so Turkey was something that we were forced to go to. Went to Morocco, the last holiday I went to Morocco. As much as I loved it, it made me realise just how much I love Turkey. So probably somewhere we want to retire to.
Favourite book?
Outliners.
Is that a fiction book?
No.
Non-fiction?
No, it's a fiction book,
It's a fiction book.
Yeah. It's about success.
Favourite TV show? If you have time to watch TV.
No.
Oh, you don't watch TV, you don't have a TV?
No, we do now, but yeah, I don't watch TV.
And favourite day of the week?
Friday.
Why? It's your day off?
Oh no, we don't have a day off. Come on, don't be silly.
It's the day the shops close.
Yeah. No, Friday, because we have a meeting with LTAF in the morning, and that's the meeting is a whole holistic view of the business, and I love that. I love when you're so focused on the day-to-day running, and when you're able to see how well or how bad the business has done, and that excites me. So that morning, and then straight after that, I have a morning where I'll just go out for coffee just by myself. It's a half an hour quick job, so that's for me. And then it's Jummah, so just to be able to sit on the musalla and just talk to Allah and complain, and that's a biggie. And then we have family. We have a movie session straight after in the evening, so it's a family. We all get together and we'll watch a movie, and yeah, it's a nice day.
I forgot to ask this question, but what's your plans for House of Mika?
Oh, world domination. So we're currently working on new collections. Again, this busy summer, we've identified loads of things, so we're working on that, inshallah. We want to introduce a new service that's very, very different. I'm not sure how that's going to work, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see that.
What's the new service? Is it secret or can you have an exclusive?
It's a secret, yeah. The fact that you know that it's a new service, that's an exclusive, but it is very different, so watch out. And I just want to build the team now. I want to start growing as much as we can in terms of the team.
Just before we sign off, a message from my wife. Mm-hmm. She says that yours is the only Asian shop, Asian clothes shop, which she goes in and she says, I don't want this, I want this. Mm-hmm. And you show exactly that. Everywhere she goes, she says that they just try and sell her something else, or they try and cover it up, or whatever it is. Yeah. So that customer service apparently for you is top notch.
I love it.
So that's a bit of a video testimonial.
An exclusive.
Yeah,
I like it. No, alhamdulillah, we're so lucky to have such amazing customers. Like your wife is amazing, alhamdulillah. And we have loads of amazing customers, and we're able to really give that service because we listen to customers. When they come in, we're so busy. We only have that 5 minutes with a customer, 10 minutes with a customer. I want to make sure that every single person gets the best service when they walk through that door. And that's why we ask questions. And sometimes I think when they've come to us for the first time, they're probably thinking, why is she asking so many questions? But it is because of that. We want to be able to deliver the best service. We want you to walk out that door feeling like, I've had an amazing experience.
And sales is about listening.
Yeah.
It's not about talking.
Yeah, 100%.
Fatimah, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
It was a pleasure meeting you. Jazakallah for having us.
That's okay.